One of the biggest misconceptions people have is that Strategist is the easiest role to play in Marvel Rivals. They think supports only have to worry about healing, but this leads to thinking that support players are boosted because they can't have enough impact in the game to actually matter, so they have to depend on their team to carry the game. But here's the truth: while being a good strategist may look simple, there's a lot of things you have to do in order to not only be a decent support player, but there's also some important concepts you need to understand if you actually want to carry games with strategists, because it's not as straightforward as getting kills on duelists or making space on tanks. So if you also have trouble carrying and winning games with strategists, don't worry. In this video I'll be explaining the key concepts behind playing supports well, so that you'll easily learn how to actually have an impact in your games, to start carrying your monkey teammates, and how to be a good strategist player in general, no matter which strategist you actually play. But even if you don't play support, it's still important to know how to play strategists effectively, so that you will have an easier time working with them and making each other's jobs easier, but also because a lot of these concepts greatly apply to the other roles as well, so I still highly recommend watching this video even if you're not a strategist main. Now, to get things started, I want to say that of course an important job of strategists is to heal people. I don't think I need to tell you that you need to heal your teammates, and I don't think that's what you want to hear. However, it's what you do around the healing and how you do the healing that makes a difference between a good strategist and a bad one. This is why you will sometimes see games with insane amounts of healing, but the game was still lost despite being a healing god, because while healing matters, every basic strategist player can just heal and that's it. Being able to heal is not impressive. It's the most basic requirement. But then, what are the other requirements? What makes a good strategist? Well, while we can overcomplicate things and talk about it for hours, I think we can instead simplify it down to only three main concepts that separate great strategists from terrible ones. These three concepts are staying alive, managing your ultimate, and being extra. But while these may sound simple on the surface, learning and implementing each one of them correctly into your gameplay requires a bit more understanding. So let's start with the first one, staying alive. It might sound obvious, but it's more important than anything in the game, yet so many people disregard it. Your job as a support isn't to heal people or to do damage or to have good ultimates. First and foremost, your job is to stay alive, so that then you can worry about the other things. So many times I will see supports play in a way that puts them in danger and gets them killed, because if you die too much, and especially if you die in crucial moments for no reason, it doesn't matter how much healing you have or how good your ultimates are, because every time you die, your team is at a massive disadvantage. Now, you might be thinking, duh, of course you shouldn't die on support, it's not like dying on the other roles is okay. Yes, dying is bad in general, but it is especially bad for strategists. If a duelist dies, it's bad, but it's still a manageable situation. If a tank dies, it's bad, but if you have ultimates and play well, it's still survivable. But if you die on support, especially while having your ultimate, at least 90% of the time that fight is most likely lost, because your team cannot survive the enemy pressure. But how do you actually get better at staying alive and dying less? Well, now that we've established how important it is for you as a strategist to stay alive, the biggest difference in whether you die or not is your positioning. Good positions will keep you safe, away from danger, able to survive dives, and make it harder for the enemies to kill you. You'll be able to keep healing your teammates without worrying too much about randomly dying to spam damage coming your way or a diver going for you. But while positioning can be a complicated topic and an entire video by itself, for supports specifically, there are a couple of pointers that can help you have amazing positioning 90% of the time at least. The first one, and I cannot stress this enough, please do not be in front of your tanks. You are not a tank. You should barely even be next to a tank. So many times I see strategists run up and stand either next to their tanks in the front line or straight up in front of them. You are not a tank. You cannot survive the frontline. The only time you should ever be even near your tanks is when you're using your ultimate, but even then it's not always necessary. Or another scenario is if the fight is over and your team is just cleaning up. But other than these two specific cases, stop playing so far forward, especially when the enemies are pushing up and being aggressive. You want to be as far away from them as possible. Let the tanks soak up that pressure and damage from the enemies and just worry about standing further back while healing healing your tanks and relieving them from that pressure. If at any point during the game you find yourself next to your tanks in the front line and you're not using your ultimate, go back. What are you even doing there? That's why it's called the backline. You can't be in the backline if you're in the front line next to your tank. Just stay back. This alone will probably reduce your deaths by a lot. But there's another positioning issue that I see all the time with low elo strategists, which is causing them to take a lot of unnecessary damage and keeping them less safe. This one is even more important to understand because it also greatly applies to all the other roles as well. So many people play out in the open like they don't have a care in the world. But when you do that, the enemies can see you easier, their divers can plan ahead on how to get to you, and it makes it harder for you to survive any danger that comes your way. Here's a simple way to understand what means being in the open. If a Scarlet Witch started using her ultimate next to you, can you find a place to hide from her? If the answer is no, you're probably out in the open. Now this is an extreme example, but it's more or less what good positioning would be like. You would have a wall or a corner next to you where you could just go behind and hide from the Scarlet Witch ultimate. If you're unable to find cover from her, that is likely a bad position. But even that might seem hard to picture, so here's a simple bonus exercise to really help you understand what good cover usage and safe positioning would be like. In your next games, ideally a quick match so you don't have to worry about winning or losing, do this. Throughout the game, at any point during the game in fact, make sure you're always hugging a wall. Either on your left side or your right side, it doesn't matter. Just stay near a wall or some cover all the time during that game. This might sound dumb, but I guarantee it will make a difference and you yourself will notice how much safer you feel, how much easier it is to dodge damage. But while this exercise is simple, it will teach you the fundamentals of good cover and it will allow you to start understanding for yourself what good positions look like. So with all of this, we've cleared up why staying alive is important and how to actually do that by being safe and dying less through good positioning. Moving on, the next concept of a great strategist is ultimate management. You probably remember the triple support meta, or you've at least heard about it. Everyone was complaining that it was starting to be annoying because it was showing up every game and it was making things boring, but you kinda had to play it yourself, otherwise you would risk losing the game. Well, all of that happened because support ultimates are incredibly strong. They can literally win or lose you games. So if your ultimates are wasted or used incorrectly, that will make you lose a lot of fights and a lot of games. But ultimate management can also be a complicated topic deserving of its own video. However, there are a few simple checks that should help you understand if it's a good moment to use your ultimate or what a good ultimate should look like. The first one is checking if there's an actual fight going on that you need to win. So many times you will see supports throw out their ultimates way before an actual fight even starts. The enemies are just free to back away a little bit and completely ignore your ultimate. You and your team cannot take advantage of it because you didn't even really need it in the first place. But don't get this confused with using your ultimate to push harder. That is a good case, but again, if a fight is already going on, because in this case, your ultimate would help you win that fight. However, if there's no fight going on, there's no need to press your ultimate, which is also true for the opposite. If a fight has ended or is ending, you also don't need your ultimate because it's too late now. You needed it during the fight, not before, not after.
But how do I know if the fight is over?
The simple answer is situational awareness. However, you can gauge how a fight is going by pressing tab, checking to see who is dead and who is alive on each team and how each team is acting. If no team is going forwards or backwards, it's probably an even fight and you might need your ultimate. If more than 2 people died on either team, it's probably too late because the fight is ending. Here's a simple way to learn good ultimate usage. Think of it like a multiple choice question. Let's say you have this multiple choice question of what's 2 plus 2. The first thing to do is eliminate the obviously bad choices. It cannot be 425 because it's got 3 digits, and it cannot be minus 37 because it's in the negative. 9 seems like it's too much, so it has to be 4. But you can do the same for your ultimates. Is no one in danger? Clearly not a good ultimate. Are all the enemies dead? Also not a good ultimate. So using it during the fight remains the clear answer. And lastly, if both supports have defensive ultimates, make sure you say which one of you goes first. Even if you don't trust the other support, that's fine, but at least try to say you'll go first in this case. You really do not want to be stacking them for no reason. Just say who goes first. Moving on, the final concept that truly separates great supports from mediocre ones is being extra. And no, I don't mean being zesty with an attitude, but doing extra things other than healing. No matter which strategist you play, you don't just have a healing button and that's it. Most people think supports are all cute helpless healbots that need to be protected, but I'm telling you man, there's secretly some real murder machines. Of course, a lot of them cannot simply win 1v1s against duelists that easily, but they can still dish out a lot of damage and make those duelists back off. Don't be afraid to shoot. All strategists actually do a good amount of damage, with some of them, like Adam, being able to completely destroy people. Whenever you're not healing or even while healing, make sure to add in some damage whenever possible. Actually, here's a crazy fact. You could probably do a lot more damage than you realize without needing to heal bot 24/7. Try it in your next game. Try to have more damage than you have healing and see how that feels. Because the reality is, even if you spam heal someone, they can still very easily die while being healed. So the true power lies in the damage each team can pump out. If you can help with that, your team will come out on top. If you're Luna or Invisible Woman, stay in a way that your clap and your heals go through both your tanks and the enemies at the same time. If you're Rocket, don't be afraid to shoot anyone that tries to get too close to you. If you're Dagger, swap to Cloak every now and then and send out the black carpet whenever it's available. If you're Adam or Mantis, shoot constantly, spam damage. These things may sound simple, but if both teams have strategists who heal, which should be the case as we've said that healing is the most basic job, then the team who wins is the one with strategists doing more than healing, being extra. But in this case, extra doesn't even mean just damage. Strategists have a lot of utility as well. Invisible Woman can literally win games by pulling enemies out of position and getting them killed. Luna and Mantis can completely block powerful enemies with their stuns at the right time. Mantis can provide a lot of additional damage with her leaves placed on her duelists. Loki tricked me so hard I completely forgot to mention him. These things may look simple, yet I almost never see low elo strategists implement them. At the end of the game, it's not the support with the most healing that wins the game, but the one who contributed the most value for the team. And this value can mean damage, this value can mean utility, this value can mean staying alive and having good ultimates. It's not just about healing, it's about doing something other than healing. However, trying to do all of this is irrelevant if you're dead half the time like we said at the beginning, so if you feel like you don't have enough impact on strategists because you die too much, then watch this video to see some clearer examples and understand how to stay alive for longer. Thanks for watching, now go get some wins.